Hello, Amanda. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm good. I am really excited to get to know more about you. I hear about you everywhere, and it was like I'm just going to reach out, and I felt blessed that you agreed to come on here. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm going to address a few people in the chat, and by all means, if y'all have any questions, it's going to be necessary to put the Q or the question mark in front if you want to try to get them answered. Please and thank you. This is Rick from New Hampshire. Geez, I rushed in to get here on time for 6 o'clock. Yeah, you were early.
Yeah.
My live streams on six with my husband on Wednesdays are at six
Oh,
instead of 6:30. And he was very late Wednesday. So Evelyn is here. Hello, friends. Hello. It's Rick. Brian Dish is here. Good evening, Cindy and Amanda, and all hail raisers. That's what I was telling you. I just explained that to her. This is Lynn. She's here. Hello, Lynn. Everyone, I'm looking forward to your questions. And Evelyn, earlier in the week, Wednesday, earlier time 6. Yep. Here's a question already. What does T4 and T3 do in your body?
yeah. So T4 and T3 are your thyroid hormones. You're usually used to hearing TSH when you go to the doctor's office because that's the blood test that they measure. But the thyroid gland itself has a role in pretty much everything from the hair on your head to the toenails on your toe and everything in between. There's not a part of your body that cannot be affected by thyroid. Now, to understand thyroid, TSH is actually produced by the pituitary gland, which is a little bitty gland at the base of your skull. And it is like, think of it like the regulator for your thyroid. So it's either given the thyroid gas or it's given the thyroid like a brake pedal to tell it to either work harder or to work less. The thyroid then is responsible for pumping out T4. So that's your actual thyroid hormone that comes from the thyroid gland that's into your throat and it goes out into your body. And then in your body, it is converted to T3, which is your active usable thyroid hormone. And you can have a breakdown anywhere in that cascade, anywhere from the pituitary producing the TSH to the thyroid producing T4 to the body being able to convert T3. So let's think about common symptoms when you're not getting enough thyroid hormones. When you're not getting enough thyroid hormones, you're sluggish, you can be losing hair, or your hair can become brittle and dry. Your skin and nails can become brittle and dry. You're very sleepy, but you're not getting good quality sleep. Everything slows down, heart rate slows down, guts slow down, so you're not digesting well, you're getting more constipated. It can play effects on your reproductive organs, so you cannot produce your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of those things appropriately. So it literally touches everything from your head to your toe, but it's a multi-stage process there.
Well, those tests would include the T3, the free T3 or T3 free and T4 free. That's
Correct.
hard to say.
It is. So
Yeah, I'm going to think that.
when I do an initial thyroid panel, like if I suspect thyroid dysfunction, I'm going to do a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, thyroid antibodies to see if your body is attacking your thyroid gland, and a reverse T3, which a reverse T3 goes into how well you're converting that T4 over to T3. And we see, especially in something like insulin resistance, that you don't convert that very well. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I had told you a little bit backstage about my doctor. Well, my primary care person. I don't know what her title is. She's an APRN. She's fantastic.
Yeah, you
Anything
just
I
said
ask her
primary
to
care
run,
provider.
everything I ask her to run, she'll run for me, no question. So
Mhm.
I don't. I'm good. Karen is here from Florida. So Amanda, I know you are, and Breeze is here.
Mhm.
I know you work closely with Dr. Barry
Mhm.
with the Low Carb for Better Health convention event that's in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And I saw you posted this on, or Chris actually posted it on his Mighty Network that you were going to be on here. And thank you, Chris, if you're watching. But how did you get involved with all the low carb? I know you're a nurse practitioner and all that, but and we also know how the nutritional training is for the medical field
Mhm.
through listening to Dr. Berry and Dr. Ovadia and Dr. Hampton and all the doctors out there.
Yeah.
So
So how did
how
I
did
get
you
into
get
this?
involved?
I got involved purely by accident. When I say that, so my journey starts with myself, and you can watch my journey. I've not recorded it, but I've talked about it on my YouTube channel, which is Decker Less Carbs. You can find me on all social media handles, but Decker, my last name, Less Carbs. But I had trouble with my weight and a autoimmune condition, psoriasis, which affects the skin from a very young age. And I struggled through with that from about the age of 5 until around 30. And I would yo-yo diet back and forth. And at one point, I had plaque of my psoriasis on about 80% of my body. So not fully covered, but when you were measuring percentages on the body, we're going by hands, and each hand is a certain percentage, and it all adds up. So if you lay a hand and you've got a plaque anywhere in that, it adds to the percentage. So 80% of my body had some sort of plaque on it. I came about this, when I say by accident, it's because I call it the grandma diet. I started thinking about what my great grandmother used to tell me when I was a little kid, and pinch my little cheeks, my little chubby cheeks at the time, and say, "Oh, if you want to lose some weight, you don't want to be chubby, just cut out the biscuits and the tea cakes." Like, all right, I can cut out biscuits and tea cakes. That's not a problem. So I did, and I started losing weight. And then my provider brain at the time, because I'm a nurse practitioner at that time, is saying, "Hey, wait, if this is starchy and I'm starting to lose weight cutting those out, what if I was to cut out other starchy things and restrict more?" So I saw it as restriction at that point, but I cut out potatoes and pastas and other starchy things. And the weight just kind of normalized itself. And it blew my mind because my weight normalized, my skin was improving, and I wasn't hungry. It was the first time that I'd went on a diet and I wasn't hungry. And I was talking to another NP friend of mine, and she said, "You're doing the low carb diet." I'm like, no, I'm not doing a low carb diet, because all I knew of a low carb diet at that point was there's this thing called Atkins and it's going to kill you. So obviously I don't want to do that. So no, I'm not doing a low carb diet. Just like, yeah, you are. You're doing a low carb diet. You should go look it up. So I went and researched it, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm doing a low carb diet. Am I going to die? What's going to happen from there? And so from there, I dug into my own research of, what does the science say? What are other doctors saying? And I found Low Carb USA was kind of the first entry that I had into the low carb world. And I was like, there's this whole group of people out there who believe in this and are pointing to the science and are telling me that their lives are reformed as well. So from there, it was Low Carb USA and the Nutrition Network. I became Low Carb USA certified. I became a metabolic health practitioner through the SMHP, with Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners. I went to the American Nutrition Association and got a certified ketogenic nutritionist, so I could put kind of my actions with some education and not feel like I was just going to get sued, and having the credentials to prove that what I'm doing is right with my clients. And then just recently, I became a Nutrition Network practitioner, which was a very intensive program, and I'm working as an ambassador with them. But in my clients, I just kind of started a little here and there. There'd be somebody that would come in, and I'm like, "Hey, I did this low carb thing. Why don't you try it and see how it goes? And let's just see what happens." And then they would get better, and I'd have to take them off of medicines, and I'd try it with somebody else, and then they would get better, and I'd have to remove medicines. And say, well, crap, I gotta like shout this from the rooftops, because I'm getting better. Other people are getting better. And why in the world have I not known about this for the first half of my career that I'm out there? And then was like this huge conviction of, well, crud, you're just a glorified drug dealer. Here's your diabetes medicine. I'll see you in 3 months. Here's your hypertension medicine. I'll see you in 3 months. And so I transformed my practice to be more metabolic health focused. And I used weight management as my gateway, because who doesn't want to lose weight? And it brings people in. And if I'm able to bring them in and help them lose weight, and oh, by the way, we're doing this with the low carb diet, it worked and it clicks. And so the second half of my career has been much more exciting. But still evolving. So last year, in January of 2025, actually this year, January 2025, I left my conventional insurance-based practice and went to a cash pay model because I was finding it hard to help people change their lives in a 15-minute appointment slot. I couldn't
No
give them
doubt.
support that they needed. Yeah. And so in my new practice, each client gets 30 minutes to an hour, and I have a certified health coach that's seeing them in between visits. And we're supporting them online with community groups and with chats and with other information. And it's just a different type of medicine. But the people who are experiencing it love it because they feel cared for and they know in whatever moment they need me, I'm going to be there for them and my team is going to be there for them to help them out. And that's not something you can get in just a conventional doctor's office.
Right. And I'm sure that along with their weight loss, like most everybody else, they're experiencing all the health benefits that went along with it.
Yeah.
So wasn't there like was there a little fear, if for lack of a better word, before you went into your own practice that, hey, they don't need me anymore because they're getting better. Right?
Oh, a
I
little,
mean,
and here's the thing, Cindy, I think that we as low carb providers have, and I've talked about this on Dr. Berry's channel, on my channel, I think we as low carb providers don't do a good job of explaining this is low carb is a huge and valuable and powerful tool. Okay. No matter which version of low carb, whether it's just slowly restricting carbs all the way up to carnivore, it's this huge tool, but it can't fix everything. Okay.
right.
And sometimes that road to recovery is slow and painful, and you need help and assistance there along the way. And even some of my people who are seeing me for primary care now and reserved me in this model of practice, they're not on medicines, but they still want to make sure they're optimizing their health. How do they avoid getting back
Absolutely.
to where they were? And what can they do? So I've got everybody from the diabetic with an A1C of 11, who's got a long way to go, to the person who's already optimized and is not on any medicines, but wants to make sure they get it to 80 in the best health that they can. So they're wiping their own hiney and taking care of themselves kind of thing. So, there's value to it for everybody. And I guess, yes, there was a little fear, but there was way more fear when I first started trying to think, oh goodness, am I going to get sued for telling people to eat low carb? And I've kind of moved past that. A lot of the docs in the community that have known me for my 20-year career, at first they thought I was losing my mind, and some will still say that I'm crazy, but none of them argue with my results that I give. So, yeah.
Yeah. I know you hear Dr. Berry talk about that a lot when he got the bad the bad things when he started teaching his people to go keto, and they were all these benefits were coming and he was pushing it, and
Yeah.
I can imagine it's wild.
Yeah. A little scary.
This is my husband Brian. He's in the background somewhere watching. And Lorraine Baxter, hello from Queensland, Australia. Hello and welcome. Let's see if there's any questions. I'll just say hi to people that are just coming in. This is Pam. And there's your Deckerless YouTube channel. And here's a question. Is a fasting insulin of 1 and A1C 4.6 something to be concerned about?
Possibly. So it depends on the whole context of the situation. So we need a whole lot more information to put that into connection. First, let me say your A1C is great. So that makes me less concerned. If your insulin was 1 and your A1C was, say, 6.5 or even pre-diabetic, then I'm going to worry that you are oversuppressing your insulin or you're actually converting to like a type 1 scenario and you're losing your ability to create your own insulin. There are some people that I've seen in practice who've been low carb for a very, very long time. And they're typically very lean. So they're almost have exhausted their fat stores at this point. They've become extremely lean and they've oversuppressed their insulin. And over time, you can see the glucose start to go up from typically the response of the protein that they're eating, because they're not eating carbs, and they're even sometimes breaking down their muscle mass like a type 1 diabetic does. When a type 1 diabetic is first diagnosed, they're usually losing weight and they're very skinny, but they're burning through their muscle and their fat on their body. So I've seen this a couple of times. It is not across the board. It is not like it's the common thing, but it is possible. So it depends on the situation. If you are feeling great, if you're not becoming sarcopenic, meaning you're not losing your muscle mass and your sugars are staying down, then it's probably absolutely nothing to worry about. If you're seeing your sugars creeping up, if you're losing muscle mass, if you're having a hard time putting on muscle mass, then it might be a problem at that point.
Right. Interesting. My last A1C that I've been maintaining now is 5.4. The last fasting insulin was 7.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'm 67. So I'll just throw that out there. I feel really good. Amanda shares a similar practice as my doctor. No insurance. I pay and have 60-minute appointments.
And if anybody wants to check out our practice, you can see it at clearpathmedical.net. We're licensed in 23 states. So check us out and see if we are in your state.
In the description after we're finished, I'll put your YouTube link, and that also, if you just shoot those over to me,
Yeah, sure.
and I'll put them in the description. Alicia Madoli. I don't know if I said that right. If not, I'm sorry. I have found the scale loves, and I look leaner with higher fat. I eat around 90 to 100 grams of protein and 150 to 160 grams of fat. 39, 5'5", 157 pounds. Do I have to worry about muscle loss eating this way?
I would say typically not. I mean, your body is getting fat for fuel, and so it's burning it. You're getting sufficient protein and fat, I would say, to preserve your muscle mass. Now, just the fact that you are 39 and about to enter that lovely stage of your 40s and then 50s and then 60s afterwards, your body is going to break down muscle faster. So now is the perfect time. If you are not resistance training, you need to add that to your great intake of protein and fat there to just encourage your body not to do what it's going to do naturally, which is to reduce your muscle mass over time. But now's the time.
Are you able to take patients in Indiana yet?
No,
Pam would like to know.
I need somebody to get like a good petition going to make it where nurse practitioners don't have to have a supervising physician in that state. Because I tell you, I would have so many Indiana patients. But you're welcome to come see me in Tennessee anytime you want, and then you can talk to my health coach in between our visits. So we have people from Florida and other states that I'm not licensed in that come up to see me several times a year and then interact with my staff in between. So it's possible.
So it will get to that. What states are you licensed in besides
goodness.
Tennessee?
Dr. Barry asks me that every time I'm online, and I give him this look of how freaking dare you? Because I don't have them memorized. It's 23 of them.
I promise he didn't tell me to ask that because I'm trying to get him on here.
I don't believe you already. Okay. So we got Arizona, Colorado, Delaware, Idaho, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, Washington, Wyoming, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Very good.
Now, see, you wouldn't be able to memorize those either.
No, you lost me. I was listening for was Kentucky, and I used to live in New Hampshire, so that was that's what I got out of that.
Yeah. Oh wait, Nevada. Also in Nevada. I forgot that one. It was on a different list.
There you go. Lisa said I had to have an antibiotic injection and oral antibiotics for a staph infection. My digestion has been off since having this. Will it eventually go back to normal? Carnivore for 1.5 years.
Yeah. Most of the time, yes. Sometimes it needs a little extra support. And if you want it to get there a little faster, so you can start with natural things, which would be consuming bone broth and maybe a little bit of fermented vegetables, as long as that's not going to break your feelings about carnivore. But, if you wanted to consume a little bit of, say, sauerkraut or kimchi, we're not talking a lot, like a tablespoon or 2 a day. That can be helpful. You can also do like cultured dairy and fermented dairy like kefir would be a good option to restore some of that good bacteria and see if it gets kind of back right. Next step would be adding some sort of targeted probiotic. And right now I'm doing more learning because I'm constantly learning, but I'm learning right now about the microbiome and the balance. And some doctors poo-poo it, and some doctors say that it's all or nothing, like it's the Taj Mahal of health in your gut. And I think it's somewhere in between. Is it the answer to everything? No. Is it an answer to some things? I think possibly so. So I'm looking at a spore-based probiotic through Mega Biome, microbiome, something like that. But they've got a 3-month gut restore. So if your gut is really bugging you a lot, it's a 3-month gut restore program that just kind of replenishes and kind of resets it. Think of it like a reset button. If you need access to that, I am a provider with FullScripts, and on my website, you can go to FullScripts and create an account and you can get it there. I'm not sure where else you can buy that product. That's the only one I've seen it because it's a pretty provider specific product.
I'd be interested in knowing how long ago that was.
Yeah, the
If she had
antibiotic.
to have the injections. Because
Yeah.
I had a knee replacement that went bad
Mm,
in 2017 and wound up with 2 more surgeries.
wow.
I had 2 infections growing in my leg. One was a staph infection. I forget what the other one was.
Mm,
I was on IV vancomycin
mm,
for 6 weeks and then 8 months of oral antibiotics to get rid of these infections.
yeah.
Thankfully, my stomach was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully.
That was a lot. Sean is here sitting in while at work. Brenda Jones is here. Hello. Alicia says the scale moves and I look leaner with high with her fat. With high fat, I would imagine.
I
90
think
to
that's
100 grams of protein, 150, 60. I do have to worry about muscle loss if this is okay. Okay, we got there.
yeah.
I didn't get to it right away, I guess. Yes, in-body Amos. Hello. Yes,
Mm,
in-body scan showing losing muscle despite weight training for a year.
mm.
Ooh,
Yeah. So you may want to, one, where is your fasting insulin? Have you oversuppressed it? Are you one of those kind of worst case scenarios or weird scenarios that's there? You could experiment with adding some creatine in to see if that would encourage some muscle regrowth and maintaining that muscle mass. And you may also want to invest in a personal trainer to look at your type of resistance training, weight training, what are you doing wrong, what can you do different, that kind of thing. Yeah.
start bowling. I bowl 3 leagues a week. So it's exercise, man.
Mm.
It's rough. Lorraine says, question part 1. I had a disturbing experience this week. I have not been well at all lately, so saw my doctor. He ran heap of labs. I found out that I still have an underlying UTI, E. coli, scary part, LDL up.
LDL's up. That's an odd thing to put with the UTI statement. Because LDL is a cholesterol, not or is part of the cholesterol panel. And I would okay. I'm not sure quite what to say to that one. It is scary
See
when
if
you
there's
underlying.
follow it up. There's got to be a part that
Yeah.
part 2 is coming up. Willie Mills, hello there. I have to give credit to Amanda Decker. She has helped me go from A1C of 11.7 down to 7.1 and weight loss of 36.4 pounds. Thank you. That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Willie. You're doing awesome. Keep it up, man.
And there's your Clear Path Medical. Thank you, Evelyn. She's the best. She's just the best. Yep. And they're just talking amongst themselves. Breeze has a question. Is 97 a high number for a 12-hour fast for insulin? My A1C is 4.9.
So I've never seen an insulin of 97 unless you have something called an insulinoma, which is a growth that is producing insulin. If you're talking about 97 for your blood glucose, like your fasting glucose, that would be a fine level. It's under 100. It can go lower, but with an A1C of 4.9, a 97 fasting glucose is fine. So I'm assuming that's a fasting glucose and not a fasting insulin because, yeah,
Probably.
that would be my assumption.
And with my husband being a type, here's your part 2. With my husband being a type 1 diabetic, it's like, okay, there's insulin and there's glucose, and it's like,
Mm.
part 2, glucose and triglycerides are fine. I have not seen him yet as he is away. I have watched so many videos, so I think I can ask the right questions. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So now that makes a little bit more sense that we have the two parts together. One, your LDL can go up in times of fasting. We've seen this in studies with Ramadan. It can also go up when you're sick, just like your blood sugar can go up when you're sick because your body's needing that cholesterol to kind of heal itself. So there may be a moot point, no reason to talk about this, and you can just tell them, hey, I'm sick. Let's test it another time when I've been well and make sure I'm clearly fasting. But let's take this time to talk about LDL in general. And so if you want to go back and look at my YouTube channel from not early this year, but early 2024, I did a couple of studies or talked about a couple of studies that's looking at what are the true indicators of cardiovascular disease, which is why LDL is so scary for people because they think it's going to cause cardiovascular disease. Well, these meta-analysis, so it's the studies that have taken all the studies and compiled all the data and put it together and rummaged through it and tried to figure it out. The meta-analysis show a very, very low correlation with LDL and cardiovascular disease. There's something called a hazard ratio. And the higher the hazard ratio, the more likely it is to cause something. So take smoking, for example. Smoking has a hazard ratio of over 20 with lung cancer. So it's very likely to cause lung cancer. LDL, well, one more step is you have to be at least at a 1 to be even significant. So just to even make any sort of significance, you have to be at a 1. LDL is somewhere around like a 1.5, 1.7. So it is significant, but it's very little on the significance. The things that are more linked with cardiovascular disease are insulin resistance, diabetes, low HDL, family history of heart disease, and hypertension. So, and elevated triglycerides, which goes in with your HDL being low and your glucose being off because it's a picture of metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. So all of those are rank higher than your LDL is. But we had medicines to treat LDL. We don't have medicines to treat family history. We don't have medicines to treat HDL. We don't have medicines to treat triglycerides. So that's what got really focused in and honed in on. And it is part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. So when you're looking at your LDL, when I'm evaluating LDL in the clinic, I do get the lipid panel that you're talking about, but I also get something called an advanced lipid panel or a lipid NMR, Nancy, Mark, Robert, what the letters stand for. So what that does is it tells you the particle sizes of your LDL. So inside of your LDL number, you have microparticles, little bitty ones, and they come in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. Think of your large ones as fat and happy. They float around and stick to nothing. Think of your small ones as sticky. They like to get in every little nook and cranny that is typically caused from inflammation and make plaque in the artery. So they're like the ambulance or the Band-Aid responding to the injury, the crime, or the cut that's there. They do make the plaque, but they're not what started the plaque. It was the inflammation that did that, which more than likely is caused from the genetic factors, the HDL, the insulin resistance, all those things that we talked about before. So if your doctor's not getting a lipid NMR, they can't give you good information and they're just blindly treating this LDL number thinking that everybody should go on a statin. But there was this great research study like 10 years ago. It had 5,000 people in it looking at the people when they came into the hospital with their first heart attack. 50% had lower normal cholesterol, 50% had high cholesterol. So something else was making it sticky. It was all these other things. So if you don't know your particle size, your LDL means nothing to me. If you don't know your fasting insulin, your LDL means nothing to me because fasting insulin is something that makes me think your LDL is going to be more sticky regardless of what number it's at. If you don't know inflammatory markers like a cardio CRP or SED rate, your LDL means nothing to me. So I hope that helps. Go back and watch those videos from 2024, at the beginning of it, about the actual markers of cardiovascular disease. And then if your doctor still pushes you on it, you can always say, sure, go ahead and write me the statin and go put it in the trash and then go do your own research and have more labs done.
I have a long story about statins.
Oh, hi,
Like I said,
Rebecca.
Amanda is amazing. And here's Willie again talking about his A1C and weight is down 36.4 pounds. Amanda Decker showing me how to win and heal. Thank you, Amanda.
Mhm.
Hey. Everyone listening have to drop kids off. Hello, Erin. That's her YouTube name, Booby Goats. And Alicia said I had the antibiotic injection November 7th and put on a 10-day antibiotic that same day.
Yeah, so she's about a month out from that and still having symptoms. So I would really make sure you're adding some of those probiotic natural things. And if that's not effective, you may need to up your game a little bit with some other products.
I think this was when I had that, it was before I started keto and knew all this stuff. And I bought some probiotics and I was eating yogurt and it all helped. I mean, it helped keep my stomach at bay because 8 months and hey,
Oh.
it was a long time. It was crazy. I was saying hi. And she said, yeah, it was the fasting glucose. That
And you're fine.
97.
You're fine.
Yep. And you give some good examples of carbs to eat that aren't high in oxalates.
So I am not an oxalate specialist. The main thing I know is don't eat almonds because they're super high and it causes kidney stones and things like that. I think you're safe with general things like squash and zucchini and cauliflower, that type thing. I usually Google it. I know Diet Doctor has a great kind of one-page handout of high oxalate foods and how to avoid them. So, but even within oxalates, I see that some people tolerate some foods that are high in oxalate just fine, and then they don't tolerate others. So there's got to be a lot of self experimentation there.
It goes along with that finding what works for you and run with it because everybody reacts differently.
Yep.
Josephine is also from Australia. Morning, I knew I seen you where you were live, but turn on laptop, no Cindy. Oh, then I just look you are here. Personal trainer says I need carbs to build muscle.
Yeah, that personal trainer is kind of stuck in the old way of thinking. If you do not follow him, you should follow Robert Sykes, or AKA Keto Savage. He is a 100% natural ketogenic bodybuilder. He was at my event last year, Low Carb for Better Health, did an amazing job speaking and leading an exercise class. But go look at his muscles. He's living proof that,
He's a
yeah,
beast.
100% ketogenic, you definitely can build muscles with that. So no, you don't need carbs to build muscle. Now, sometimes in that weird situation that I was talking about, if you over suppress your insulin, adding a tiny bit back, I'm meaning like 5 to 10 grams, if you've been near zero carb like carnivore for a while, can flip that switch and all of a sudden you feel a lot better. But that's one of those situations you're going to have to do personal, in a one type stuff to see what works for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Simpson is here. Another Cindy. Hello, all. Vicky. Dustin is here. Good evening, Cindy and Amanda. Hi, Dustin. And Mr. It looks like we are caught up with questions. So that's
getting a couple more if you go down just a little bit.
Yes, yeah. Oh, we're gonna keep. We got about 20 minutes.
So y'all get your questions
in. I'm sorry.
I was saying y'all get your questions in.
That's right. Two. Uh-oh, almonds cause kidney stones. Oops.
They're not like the only cause, but I can say, speaking from experience with clients, especially low carb clients, nuts are one of those things that we kind of lean on for snacks or crunches or to make fake breads and stuff like that. And yes, they are a very high oxalate food and can worsen those kidney stones.
And so thank you. She says, my 15-year-old has painful periods. The first or second day, she will get really pale and throw up or nearly pass out. She has cramps the entire week of the period. What can help?
Yeah. So in my experience, and there's growing research to help with this, and you can look up to Andrea Salcedo, the conscious gynecologist. She speaks a lot about cycle pain, endometriosis, lots of things like that. But this can actually be a sign of insulin resistance or gut dysfunction, leaky gut. So the idea is with leaky gut is that you've got toxins kind of leaking out. And when a woman has their menstrual cycle, they bleed not just through the vagina, but they bleed through the fallopian tubes into the body as well. Some blood leaks out there. And then if you've got inflammation from the gut, it kind of attaches and wreaks havoc, and the cramping is more. If you don't have leaky gut and everything's sealed up and good, when the blood leaks out, the body reabsorbs it and it goes away, and there's no issues. My number one recommendation, and actually I have a 15-year-old in my practice that I'm working with this right now, and within 1 month she has greatly improved her pain and dysfunction during her menstrual cycles. Now, we didn't take her carnivore by any means. You could do that if you want to go strict, but I asked her to go grain-free. I said, remove all grain products from your diet. So not just wheat, we're doing corn, we're doing barley, we're doing anything that comes from a stalk. By doing that, she also inadvertently reduced sugars and some other things because they're often attached to said grain. She chose on her own to take the route of, let's go with what I know is easy. I'm just going to eat whole foods. So she's eating fruits, vegetables, and meats, not doing a lot of packaged items. So we're getting a lot of those inflammatory things gone. Her very next cycle, she had way less pain, way less bloating. Yeah, there is some pain, but that's to be expected. And she functioned through school just fine. So that is my number one hands down recommendation. Go grain-free 100% and try to eat whole foods. Let that gut heal up. That may be one of those situations to do some gut rebuilding through those microbiome products that I was talking about. And if you need some acute relief, you can try, and you have to be cautious using this in kids, but she's over the age of 12, so it should be fine. You can take a baby aspirin starting day 1 of the cycle and just take it on the days that you're bleeding. If she's having a lot of clotting, it thins it enough just to where the uterus doesn't have to cramp as much to get it out. So those are my 2 things to try right off the bat. You can get her, just baby aspirin 1 a day during the cycle, and then to 100% grain-free, read every label for every sauce, for everything, and try to eat whole foods. And I bet you'll see a huge improvement.
I have a friend, I gotta say this. So if they haven't had her to a doctor, to a gynecologist, I had a friend that got really sick like this a lot.
Mm.
And she went to the doctor. She had a piece of skin blocking the exit
Mm.
for her periods, and they had to take care of that. And after that was done, it was like fine.
Yeah, usually there's
Wow.
not as much flow with that situation because the skin is blocking it and the blood is building up and building up. So if you're having painful, heavy periods, that's not.
It
I don't
was, I had never
know.
heard of that before. It was weird. It
Yeah,
was just weird.
yeah.
There's Keto Savage's channel. Thank you, Evelyn. Dr. Nash Josic. Oh, TTTHC. Hello. Dr. Nash Josic is a good source for low carb, keto, carnivore bodybuilding.
Hmm.
Brady. There goes my only snack, Rick.
I'm sorry.
So that my husband's favorite snack, his drive-by snack are cashews.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good about everything else. He will say no to everything. He's probably better than I am sometimes. We've been keto for 5 years, a little over 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it is really it's he uses way less insulin for his type 1 than he ever did.
Mm-hmm.
But those cashews, so how
And they're
how
higher in
bad are
carb than
those?
some nuts. So, he's you have to watch those.
That's his one thing, and it's like, like Rick's almonds. It's Brian's cashews.
Yeah, those are
Pam says
high too.
spinach and dark chocolate also cause kidney stones.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the spinach is like anyway, but but now the dark chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
my arthritis issues and inflammation went way down when I stopped eating almonds and baking with almond flour.
Yep.
Bake with keto chow.
Yeah, or I use coconut flour, that when I
Yeah,
make
that
something.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the Low Carb for Better Health conference. Any idea when it will be in September in 2026?
Yeah, it's September 26th and 27th. It'll be back at the same place in Montgomery Vale State Park here in Dixon, Tennessee, where I live at. And so, yeah, mark it down on the calendar. I hope to have the conference site up and going sometime near early January-ish, we'll say. And I'm working on securing all the speakers right now. So, yeah.
And that'll be on lowcarbevents.com, right?
Yes, Chris usually puts it out there for me, but the low carb website that you can watch for is LC4 Better. No, wait, the letter L, the letter C, the number 4, the letter B, the letter H.com is the website for the conference. LC4BH.com. I got it out. It's been a while since I said
Okay. Barbara's here, Grandma's Crochet Corner. This woman is doing fantastic
it.
at Carnivore.
Yeah,
She is amazing.
it's awesome.
Hello, Barbara. Andrea Salcido's channel,
She's awesome.
conscious gynecologist. Josephine, oh my God, don't miss all that pain. Kicks me in the gut when going off track. I feel like I need a poster hung up to remind me or the reasons I love eating this way and the cons if I go off track. Yeah.
You can create that yourself. I've threatened for my patients to make myself into bobbleheads that's constantly going.
I love it. Hello, Barbara. And Shauna said, I do bake with keto chow and coconut flour. And there's your low carb for better health. My husband and I love LC4BH.
Yeah, I think they've been to the last 3 of them, maybe, or maybe all of them. I can't remember. We've had 4, so this year will be our 5th.
Nice. Wasn't it just in the beginning? It was just one day, right?
So in the beginning, it was a half day. The very first one was a half day held in the auditorium of the high school where my husband teaches. And we had such a big response that we turned it into a full day event. And then the next year turned it into a full day and a dinner the night before. And then this year we did full 2 days. Yeah, it's growing.
Yep. Good evening, lovelies. Bride's Biscuit is here. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Evelyn said, I want that bobblehead.
I need to work on it.
Alicia, please get licensed in Texas.
I hear you. Go ahead and go send out letters to all of your congresspeople and be like, give nurse practitioners full practice authority. We have it in so many states, and some states are just behind. And there's no evidence that we give lesser care than MDs. In fact, a lot of people find that they prefer our care over MDs. So it'll happen.
We talked about this. My doctor is an APRN, and I would rather go to her than anybody.
Yeah.
Other than the doctor I had in New Hampshire, who was fantastic and totally behind everything that we were doing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He was great, and he took his time with us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Parody. I like these names. Yeah, it's when you were talking about cholesterol and statins, I've had, because of Dr. Berry, I went and had a CAC done. And my people have known this and they hear it all the time. Back in 23, I had my first one done. I got my score and I about flipped and lost my mind because my score was over 5,000. And, I had pre-keto, I had been on blood pressure medicines from the time I was a teenager. There's heart disease in my family. My mom died at 74. My dad died at 56. My brother died at 49. My sister has coronary artery disease, my younger sister. It is rampant in our family. And I'm like, my sister Deb is the one that got me started on keto 5+ years ago. So I caught a live stream with Dr. Berry and Dr. Ovadia, and I asked him a question after I got my scores back. And Dr. Ovadia said, use that as a baseline, have it done again in a year. I did. And it came back over 6,000. Well, I was like freaked out. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I saw Dr. Berry at KPL 2 years ago. This didn't happen. Well, last year. It didn't happen this year. And I was talking to him about it. He said, you should have another one done. I'm like, no, I shouldn't, because
it's just going to worry me.
I got my blood pressure under control without medication after losing 100 pounds on keto. Why do I want to stress myself out to that level to raise my blood pressure, to have to go through all of that again? No, I will. But sorry, doc, but I can't.
Well, I would say, Cindy, there are more things than just our diet that can make plaque continue to build in our arteries. So I have a family member who is very healthy and has been on essentially a very clean paleo diet for the bulk of his life. So he's not, I guess that's kind of like the first step of low carb, but it's a paleo whole foods diet. And he works out. He's lean. He's never been overweight. Yes, there's been some stressors in his life along the way. He'd probably done some bad things to his body at some point. Who hasn't? For the most part, you would look at this guy and say he's pretty healthy. CAC score kept rising. Um, and we developed some kind of weird lung emphysema, never smoked a day in his life. Okay, what in the world is happening? Well, we did environmental toxin test and he came back with extremely high levels of nickel. Nickel has been shown to raise CAC scores. It's also been shown to cause emphysema in patients who have not smoked. Okay. He worked in a welding factory many, many years ago, and it's
Wow.
done some toxin things. So now we focused on binding that nickel and getting it out of his body, hoping that it stabilizes that CAC score. Another client that I work with that had struggled to lose weight. I don't know that we did a CAC score, but I'm imagining her CAC score is going to come back very similar to where yours is, just by knowing her history and knowing kind of where it's at.
Mhm.
We did environmental toxin testing on her, and she had a very toxic level of BPH. So that's the microplastic from years of use. She hadn't been using it in the last several years. She goes, I'm using glass water bottles. I no longer put my food in Tupperware. I don't put my food in containers and take it home if I eat out. But those things become toxic in the body. And turns out she doesn't sweat very much. And that's our main way of detoxing the body from plastic. So part of her intervention to make sure she stays healthy, lose weights and whatnot is sauna therapy. So if you're doing everything you can diet wise, and this isn't just targeted you, it's targeted everybody. If you're doing everything you can diet wise, but you still see maybe inflammatory markers going up, or you see things happening negative, and you're like, I'm eating clean, I'm sleeping, I'm working on my stress, I'm doing all the things. Well, sometimes we got to get in the weeds, but that can be empowering too, because then we can find something that we can work on, something that we can maybe help stabilize it. And I for one, think knowledge is power, whether that knowledge is knowing the research or whether that knowledge is knowing what we can do to help stabilize it. So that's one of those situations. If someone's in that situation like you, they really need to work with a provider who is knowledgeable about inflammation and who's willing to get on the fringes of medicine and look at some of the more functional
Mhm.
type stuff to try to help heal and recover and find the answers.
Right. I'll have to talk to my,
Yeah.
because I have been to, with the statin part of things.
Mm,
I had years ago, when I met my husband and we got together, I started going to his doctor and they right away put me on a statin.
mm,
Within within months, pain just to do this.
yeah.
I quit taking it. The next time I went in, I told him, I said, I can't take that. I'm not taking that anymore. He said, okay. Just that, because he knows that, and they don't bother to share that information with you.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward 20 some years and getting these CAC tests done, I saw this one cardiologist within the last few years. And I told his nurse about the pain and all of that. He said, well, we're going to put your chart allergic to statins. I'm like, okay. Well, the cardiologist comes in and he says the same day, he said, I think you need to take a statin. There was no mention of my lipid panel whatsoever.
Hmm.
Nothing. And it's good. The triglycerides are good. The HDL is good. Total is maybe 240. LDL is maybe 140. I don't care. I don't
Hmm.
care about those. The two, yes, the HDL triglycerides, I'm good. Great range. Different, the ratio is
Hmm.
perfect. So I said, no, I'm not going to take them.
Mhm.
I said, did you not just read my chart that your nurse put in there? I was allergic to it. And he just disregarded it and just went on.
Yeah.
Well, I went to him a year later. I don't go to him anymore.
Mhm.
He sat there and he said, I really think you need to be on a statin. And I said, I really think you're out of your mind. And he said, what? You can't deal with a little pain? And I'm like, what? Well, I have since seen a different cardiologist now.
Mhm.
And he's done an echo. He said, you just have a little valve leakage. It's normal as you age. It's no big deal. We'll repeat it in 2 years.
Mhm.
I've done 2 weeks on a heart monitor. Everything was good. I'm good. And I feel good. It's like, good.
Yeah.
Hope everyone is doing well and ready for the weekend. Yes. Worried about cadmium? It's
It's another, I believe it's another heavy metal that's out there.
I hear it takes many decades to clear.
You can, but at least you could start working on it and reduce it if it is elevated in your system. One, don't worry about something till you know if you have it. No reason to worry your life away. So go get it checked. You can do that through hair analysis, urinalysis, different things.
Mm-hmm. And she says, triglycerides good, HDL good, A1C good, blood pressure good, LDL elevated? Please.
It's just one number. It's just a number. You got to look at the whole picture. Yeah.
That's when they had called me back when I started with this new doctor, when they first called me back, and to tell me that my LDL was a little elevated and the total was elevated. I'm like, I don't care about those. What are my HDL and triglycerides? They knew then they weren't going to bully me on the phone. And I just love her. She's like, you're good. My husband's doctor is pushing him to start a statin, and his cholesterol numbers are normal. He thinks it's too high.
Yeah, there's a big push right now in preventative medicine to get LDL below 100, maybe even below 70, which those were recommendations for people who had had a heart attack, like who had already had a heart attack. And now they're just kind of getting bled over into people who have not had heart attacks without any research to really back it up. It's just, well, if it's good for this, it's good for that. Yeah. So you can always say no, just say no.
Yeah. Or if they don't want to listen to no, just get it and throw it away.
Yep.
If your insurance pays for it, so you don't have to pay for it.
Truth.
Do you have any recommendations to make it through Christmas gatherings with family to keep from getting too far off track with carbs?
Yeah.
Mindset.
Yeah. Well, I've been at this I keep saying 12 years, but I'm pretty sure I've been saying 12 years for like 3 years now. So who knows how many years I've really been at this. And I've had different strategies from the beginning to when it is now. So in the beginning, I decided I'll just take the day off. It's one day. And you've probably even heard Dr. Berry say it's one piece of pumpkin pie. One piece of pumpkin pie is not going to be the end all. It's not going to give you diabetes, that kind of thing, which is truth. However, I have issues with carbs. My brain and body really, really likes them. And so every year when I would take that one day off, that one day became 2 months. And in January, I'm digging myself out of this weight gain and trying to get rid of the sugar cravings that I gathered over the holiday period because it's the holidays and I'm supposed to enjoy. So after a couple of years, I was like, okay, quit the insanity because that is the definition of insanity, continuing to do something that gives you harm and you know better. Okay. So I tried to do replacements. And I slowly have converted my entire traditional Thanksgiving and Christmas meals into low carb options, everything from the meat to the dressing, everything in between. And so that is how I get through. If you're going to a family gathering, now I will say my family has almost all now converted. We're probably about 75-25 on the people who eat low carb. So there's always something for me to eat there. And that's what I do. I focus on, there's this other distracting stuff, but I focus on what I can eat, what I brought that I know that I can have, and the fact that my holiday is about spending time with my loved ones and the memories I'm creating with them and not the food that we're eating. Okay. Now, if you can't do that, if you don't want to go all in and just say to heck with it for a day, and you can't stay 100% on track and just focus on the good things and the memories like I'm doing now, there are some things you can do to kind of mitigate. So the first thing I would say is go get your first plate of food and put all the meat and deviled eggs on it that you can. Eat all that first. And then take your plate back and put your non-starchy veggies on it. Your green bean casserole, your broccoli and cheese, whatever it is that your non-starchy veggie is next. Eat that. And then save your starch for last. That does a couple of different things. One, hopefully you're so full by the time you get to the starch that you're not going to eat it or you only eat a few bites. But the other thing is when you start with the protein and eat only protein first, you start to rev up your metabolism. So you're actually burning faster. So you don't have as big of a glucose hit, and you're getting that full sensation and the full hormones to your brain faster. So you're actually reducing the amount that you will eat for that time. And then after that meal, go for a walk. Don't eat that meal and sit your booty down. Get up and go for a walk and move and kind of try to burn that off. Don't drink your calories or your sugar. Water only, unsweet tea only, black coffee only. Don't even test the waters with that. My next tidbit is called the 3-bite rule. And this comes from a research study that was done on the human brain and how the human brain reacts to sugar. So if you have to have grandma's pumpkin pie or coconut cake or whatever it is, take 1 bite. Eat it as slow as you can, roll it around your tongue, savor it, get all the good juices, whatever, chew on it like 20 million times, and then swallow it. That one hits your brain and is like, oh, dang, that's good. I want another bite. You go back for your next bite. You do the same thing, very slow, savor that bite, swallow it. It was good. I want another bite. But after the 3rd bite, we're not getting that same hard hit to the brain. We're just on autopilot finishing the cake on our plate. Okay. So after you've taken your 3 bites, put it in the trash or pour salt on it or pull pepper on it or give it to somebody else. But have your 3 bites, stick to your 3 bites. You've gotten all the good vibes from eating it without doing the whole piece of cake. So there's my advice.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Mhm.
TTHC. I've been doing keto for 1.5 years. My latest labs were HDL 124, triglycerides 41, LDL 89. I was concerned LDL would go sky high, but stayed the same. HDL skyrocketed.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome.
How would a patient go about diagnosing adult ADD? I respond well to bupropion
Mhm.
and believe I have the condition. My nurse practitioner will not write a script for stimulants.
Yeah. And that's a very conflicting world right now because I do, in fact, believe that there is such a thing as ADD and ADHD. And I do believe that some adults carry it on into adulthood, childhood, and it's always there. So it's a legit thing, needs a legit diagnosis. I usually recommend seeing a psychologist and doing formal testing to get proof of that testing. But I don't always recommend medication right up front. We're going to start with behavior modification because a lot of ADHD is worsened by our lifestyle. It's worsened by the things we are doing to our bodies and that we've been doing to our bodies for the past, say 30 years. So we're not getting enough sleep. We're getting too much blue light. We're on these lovely electronic devices too much. We're not getting enough exercise and we're eating too much sugar and things that stimulate our brain. And so when you eat more whole foods, you get more of a regular sleep pattern, you minimize your electronic time and you exercise better. A lot of the times the symptoms of ADHD are more easy to manage. Do they 100% go away in everybody? No, but they're easier to manage. And then if they're not, okay, maybe medication is the option. And if you respond well to bupropion, that's amazing. It's a pretty benign drug in the world of drugs. It's a pretty benign one. It has minimal side effects. So yeah, there's that. But I would say psychologist or psychiatrist to get the actual diagnosis. That they're going to go through the testing with you and things of that nature so they see it's legit. But always, always, always behavior modification first. And you might even have to incorporate some things like meditation and things like that that bring the brain down and learn coping mechanisms like writing lists and different things of that nature. But I wouldn't run and jump to medicine just from getting that diagnosis.
Yeah, I have a grandson that was diagnosed ADHD as a child.
Mhm.
And my son found out if he didn't have his medications, he was off the charts crazy.
Mhm.
But he also discovered that caffeine would
Mhm.
calm him down.
Because it's a stimulant. Yeah.
Did the adverse effect. Yeah, so it's wild. Lewis is here. Hello, Cindy and Amanda. Willie said, awesome advice. Thank you. Rice biscuit, dopamine resistance. I get it as a carb addict.
Mm.
Yep. Thomas is here. Tony Delisle is here. Hello, Tony. Hi, Cindy and Amanda. We can't stay. We'll have to watch a replay. We just wanted to say hi. Well, I'm glad you did. Hello. Rice biscuit. I went off 7 mental health meds under carnivore and lifestyle changes. SSRI studies have not shown benefit.
Mm.
What is SSRI, if I can?
SSRI is was the short acronym for antidepressants, so selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it keeps you from excreting your serotonin and makes you retain more of your natural serotonin.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Question, is GLP-1s okay for patients with thyroid issues?
Yeah, so that's another big topic in the world of, well, every world right now, whether it's medicine or, Vogue. It's kind of everywhere. There is no direct contraindication with GLP-1 and thyroid issues. Now, in the literature, and this has been known since the very first GLP-1 came out back in 2005, that there's a connection of thyroid cancer, specifically thyroid medullary carcinoma, and GLP-1 therapy. Now, this has been demonstrated in rats, not demonstrated in humans. So something to keep in mind is rats have 7 lobes to their thyroid, and we humans do not have that many. So there's a little difference between the rats and us, plus their metabolism is a little bit different, much faster than ours. So it is a black box warning for thyroid cancer. It has not been seen in humans. Now, when you look at aftermarket, so like I said, these things have been out since 2005 in one shape, form, or fashion, and they've exploded more in the last couple of years. There was a study, I believe, done in France where they had government funded health insurance. And what they did is they compiled data from diagnosis and prescriptions filled. So they took and saw any patients who had had a GLP-1 filled and had had a diagnosis of thyroid cancer and kind of came up with these risks for that. And they did see an increased risk for all types of thyroid cancer, not just including medullary carcinoma, but all types of thyroid cancer in persons with GLP-1. And that risk was increased if you had underlying thyroid disorders like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, something like that. But if you got hyperthyroidism, you're usually very skinny. There's usually not a weight problem or reason to take GLP-1, but any type of thyroid issue, they saw a correlation there. But it's also my understanding that that study is kind of a standalone, that there's been a whole lot of other similar studies pulling similar data from other places that haven't backed it up. So there's not a very clear consensus on whether it is, but as of right now, it does not look like there's that contraindication or any more higher risk, but it's your risk to take. So knowing that one study had that, if that bothers you, then don't take the drug.
It's awesome about your meds. Thomas said, you probably don't remember Amanda, but we met on a Healing Humanity Zoom call. So I wanted to say hello.
Hello, hello.
Rebecca said, thank you. I've used them successfully with Hashimoto's. I do Sonos often to make sure.
Yeah, so they're doing ultrasound to make sure that the thyroid's okay being on that medicine. You can also do, there's a blood test. I knew I was going to forget it, but there's a blood test that can be drawn every year that's specific to thyroid medullary carcinoma. It's a pretty easy thing to follow.
To research that one. Anyhow, unless anyone has any more questions for Amanda, I don't want to take up any more of her time. And I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. And Amanda, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And I did look it up. It's a calcitonin. I knew I'd find it. It just needed a minute to figure it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Calcitonin level.
There you go, honey. So anyhow, thank you again.
Yes.
And everybody else have a great night. And Pride's Biscuit says, cool, I'll ask Doc to include in the future. And yes, like Evelyn said, make sure to hit the like button on either or both channels. Yes, please. Thank you. And Bree said, thank you both. Thank you, Amanda and Cindy. Thank you for joining us. And everybody have a great night, great weekend. I will see you back here on Wednesday with Brian. And Amanda, you're welcome back anytime. It would be great. But you have a great night.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I will see you Wednesday. Good night, everybody.